I'm going to open up this video by talking about something that does indirectly involve Blink-182. The band were placed on lockdown at their hotel during this incident. But the larger news here and the more important story, unfortunately, is that a lot of people lost their lives. August 3rd in El Paso, Texas, Blink-182 were there for a tourist stop, but they weren't involved outside of the fact that they were there in that city. The sad reality is that another mass shooting by what I consider to be a terrorist did occur, and innocent blood was shed once again. I implore you to talk to the people in representation and authority in your state, and please go out and vote next year, because something needs to be done about stricter gun laws. And I always feel hopeless. I always feel like I'm repeating myself, but I am tired of seeing this again and again, and I know that there's so many mourning families out there that should not have to mourn over this senseless violence. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Beyond ARTV. My name is John, and it's time for another News It or Lose It update. It seemed like we had a story that might have been about a potential predator reaching out and messaging a 13-year-old girl of a famous drummer of the band Blink-182, but then it became more convoluted, cloudy, and just one of those situations where, as I was researching and looking into the story, I was like, oh no, and there's so many people talking about it and going after this person after this. We're going to get into it, but of course I'm talking about Travis Barker, the drummer of Blink-182, his daughter Alabama Barker, who is currently 13 years old, and Graham Sierota of the band Echosmith, who had a couple of hit songs a few years back. They haven't done much in recent years. Their second album has long been delayed. They've had a couple of EPs, but that is not important today. What we're focusing on is the fact that the drummer Graham, 20 years old, currently sent messages to Alabama Barker, and that's dated back to 2016, and even as recently as the middle of July, where Graham allegedly invited her to a party. We have screenshots showing the fact that she was invited to a barbecue at Graham's family's house. Now, the initial details were brought to the public because Alabama Barker, 13 years old, posted screenshots on her Instagram story. The initial messages from Graham seemed innocent enough, both saying the same thing, hi, and those were sent September of 2016. Later in the same month, he said, by the way, I'm Graham from Echosmith, and I think you're beautiful. Later on, we see the message from July 12th, 2019, where the invite was sent. Tap to RSVP to barbecue at my house. Bring chips, dessert, guac, and salsa. As you can see here on screen, Alabama Barker shared this out on her Instagram story saying, hey guys, so once again, I am bringing this to your attention because I am a 13-year-old girl and he is a 21/20 super creepy. Alabama didn't end things there, and she cracked down by posting a second message where she tagged Echosmith directly, with those messages also showing that she replied finally saying, you're like 40. He replies again saying, I just wanted to say I really like your music and sorry for messaging and I'm 20. Understandably, Alabama fired back a message saying, okay, but you understand I'm a child? And things were apparently left there until Alabama brought it into the public eye by sharing it on her stories. Echosmith had this brought to their attention, of course. So many people were dunking on this dude, the drummer Graham of Echosmith, a predator, and that's exactly what it seemed like. It was very creepy. I mean, a 20-year-old, even when he was 17, messaging what would have been at the time a 10-year-old saying that she is beautiful. It seems very strange, and obviously there are more details, but first, let's get to Travis Barker's statement. Travis talked to The Blast saying, when I found out a 20-year-old man was trying to get in touch with my 13-year-old daughter by filling her Instagram messages with party invites and compliments, I was disgusted. That's predatory behavior, and there is nothing cool, normal, or okay about it at all. I'll admit that I thought that's where the story was going to end. Maybe Graham was going to step down from Echosmith, a band that already seemed like they're falling apart. Everyone in the band is related. They all share the Sierota last name, and I thought that maybe that was just going to be them throwing in the towel, like Graham's leaving, and we're breaking up, the band is dissolving. And especially when the drummer of your band is messing with the daughter of Travis Barker, one of the most legendary drummers of all time. You're asking to get a beat down. But then came the more heartbreaking and almost confusing part of the story, because you start to feel really torn when somebody has a disorder involved. People.com reached out and got a statement from Graham's family, and at first, Graham had issued an apology saying that there was a misunderstanding, then he was remorseful for his actions. He didn't know, he thought that Alabama was the same age as him, and I really do think that it's nice, I guess, that he didn't try to blame it on a specific disorder, because then his family stepped in to say the family has had an idea for quite some time, and then as a child, Graham was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder, meaning that he has difficulty understanding social cues. The family also mentioned that Graham has a really warm heart and he just invites all sorts of people. Athletes, models, celebrities of all sorts showed up to a Christmas party that they had hosted, and they were wondering why all of these people were there until they realized that Graham had reached out on social media. So it seems like this was not one person that he was focusing in on, and that he genuinely did think that Alabama was somebody that was his age, which I can understand that from some of the photos. That's not me shaming, but at the same time, the photos that are posted, especially if you didn't do any research on the person, she does look older, and maybe it was an honest mistake. I really feel strongly about not going after Graham for this, because maybe there was a line crossed and he learned something from this, but also as somebody who knows people who are on the spectrum, even fellow creators who are on the spectrum, I understand the fact that social cues are easy for them to miss sometimes, and that's no fault of their own. It's the way that they were born. It's something that they can't help. So I would urge you to use caution when talking about this situation, when dunking on this dude who definitely, yes, sent some messages that were inappropriate. I'm not saying that they were not inappropriate, but also keep in mind the context here. The fact that this person does have autism, is on the spectrum, and maybe didn't really know how his messages were being perceived. The good news is that Alabama Barker accepted his apology. She posted that on Instagram stories once again. So I'm happy to see that it seems like she is putting this one behind her. Hopefully Echosmith can do the same thing, and perhaps Travis Barker as well. I know that Travis probably has other things on his mind right now, especially the El Paso incident that Blink-182 were on lockdown for. But at the end of the day, this is just one of those tricky situations that really does kind of stir something in me, and it's just not a good feeling, because you felt like you knew exactly what happened, and then you're like, I'm sympathetic because I know people who would have done the exact same thing. I went to school with people in high school who struggled with the same disorder, and I know how those misinterpretations can happen. It's not meant to be creepy. It's not meant to be weird. So again, use caution when talking about this situation or going after anyone. Thank you for watching this installment of News It or Lose It. Drop a like on the video while you're here and subscribe for the love of music. If there's other music news stories that you'd like to see me weigh in on with my own opinion, then sound off in the comments section. And what do you think about the whole debacle with the drummer of Echosmith versus Travis Barker in Alabama? Anyways, other than that, I will see you soon for more right here on Beyond ARTV.